guys there. Hi, my name is Miss Marissa and welcome back to day 2 of space. Yesterday we learned how there are 8 planets and how we live on one of them. Do any of my friends remember which planet we live on? We live on planet Earth, but before we get into this video, let's stand and say the pledge. Can all my friends stand up? Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job, friends. We can all sit down now. In the beginning of the video, I was wearing this type of helmet. Does anybody know what type of helmet this is or who wears this helmet? Now that we figured out what this is, and that's an astronaut helmet, astronaut seems like a big word. So how about we say it together? I'll say it first, and then you guys will say it second. Astronaut. Okay, your guys' turn. Astronaut. Great job. So now you're probably wondering, what is an astronaut? An astronaut are the people who actually go up into space and figure out all the information about space. We figured out one of the things astronauts wear, and that's the astronaut helmet. But they also wear so many other things, like the big space suit, and they also wear the really heavy space boots. And the most important thing on their spacesuit is behind them, and that's the oxygen tank. The oxygen tank is making sure they're having clean and fresh air. The spacesuit on Earth weighs a lot, but in space, it weighs nothing. Before I tell you why, I'm going to do a small activity. Can all my friends and teachers find any object? It could be a toy, it could be a pen. I have a pen with me today. And I want everyone to raise it up and drop it. Did we notice how the object fell? If I asked somebody in space to do the same exact thing, it would have done the total opposite. The object wouldn't have fallen. It would have floated. Do we see how the fruits are all floating in this picture? That's because on Earth, we have gravity, but in space, they have zero gravity. Gravity is the pull of objects like us, like our pencils and the toys that we just dropped. They're all coming to the ground. So gravity is keeping us all on the ground right now. Zero gravity is in space, how people float around, how objects float. So in space, nothing is on the ground. Everything is floating and in the air, but it's total opposite on Earth. Everything's on the ground. Space, everything's floating. I'm gonna do one more small activity using a hair dryer and a ping pong ball to show what zero gravity looks like here on Earth. If anyone wants to do this activity at home, make sure you have a parent to do it with you. So, we are going to pretend we are in space. And the ping pong ball is an object, and we're going to pretend the hair dryer isn't here. So when I do this, the ping pong ball floats. And then when I turn it off, it falls to the ground. So when it falls, that means we're on Earth and we have gravity, but when it's floating, we have zero gravity. That means we're in space. So let's go back and think. Our planet is named Earth. Earth starts with the letter E. This is an uppercase E, and this is a lowercase e. Do any of my friends remember what the letter E sounds like? The letter E makes the sound eh, eh, eh. A few objects that make the eh, eh, eh sound is egg. Can I hear you guys say egg? Great job. And I also have a elephant. Can I hear you say elephant? Great job. And then I have a envelope. Can I hear you say envelope? Okay, one more. I have a elf. Can I hear you say elf? Great job. Did you guys have a few Christmas elves around when it was Christmas time? I know a few of you did. I'm gonna take another trip to outside and see what the season's like, if it's cold, if it's warm, if it's normal, and what we need to wear. Hi friends, I'm back outside again. And yesterday I was showing how snow was falling out of the sky and how there was snow on the ground. But in the season we're in, it doesn't always have to snow. Behind me, I see no leaves on the trees. So if it's snowing sometimes, has to be very cold to snow, and there's no leaves on the trees, we're in the season of winter. And what I'm wearing outside to make sure I'm nice and warm is I'm wearing a hat, I'm wearing a winter jacket, and I'm wearing some gloves. So if you ever go outside, make sure you put on all your nice warm jackets and hats and gloves to make sure you stay really nice and warm. I'm so glad we took that trip outside to figure out that we're in the season of winter and we saw no leaves on the trees, how it was chilly. But I know that was a lot of me talking. So now let's get up and get all of our wiggles out.
We're Bounce Patrol, astronauts, we travel the galaxy. Flying through outer space is where we love to be. We float inside our rocket ship, it's zero gravity. Join us on our mission of discovery. Outside our window there's a million stars and more. Planets, moons, asteroids for us to explore. If we're lucky now and then, we get to meet some aliens. Greetings, airplanes, would you like to be our friends? We'd love to be your friends. We're Bounce Patrol, astronauts, we travel the galaxy. Flying through outer space is where we love to be. We float inside our rocket ship, it's zero gravity. Join us on our mission of discovery. There's fun and adventure to be had everywhere. Flying through outer space without a care. One day on a mission, we landed on Mars. Ran into some Martians who played guitars. We're Bounce Patrol, astronauts, we travel the galaxy. Flying through outer space is where we love to be. We float inside our rocket ship, it's zero gravity. Join us on our mission of discovery. We're Bounce Patrol, astronauts, we travel the galaxy. Flying through outer space is where we love to be. We float inside our rocket ship, it's zero gravity. Join us on our mission of discovery. We're Bounce Patrol, astronauts.
I have a surprise for everyone. I have a special guest reading us our book for today, and she is actually up in outer space. You can see so much of the zero gravity and so many things floating around her. Let's watch it. But before we go to space, we need to sing a quick song. I'll sing it, and you can follow the dance moves that I do. Climb aboard the spaceship, we're going to the moon. Hurry up, get ready, we're gonna blast off soon. Put on your helmet and buckle up real tight, 'cause here comes the countdown, so count with all your might. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off!
Hello everybody and welcome to Storytime in Space. My name is Serena Anand-Chancellor on board Expedition 56 on the International Space Station. Welcome if you're at home or at your local library or even from your school. Today we are reading If I Were an Astronaut by Eric Braun. And this is kind of the perfect place on the space station to read this book. This place is called the airlock on board the space station, and this is where we do our spacewalks from. In fact, I have my two spacewalking buddies here, spacesuit number 1 and spacesuit number 2. And these are the special suits we use when we go out and do spacewalks. And although it's a little packed right now, this big area behind me is our crew lock. And there's a special hatch down there, and that is where we go to actually exit out into space. So I think it's pretty perfect for us to be here while we read this book today. So let's get started. If I were an astronaut, I would fly a spacecraft in outer space. If I were an astronaut, I would feel the G's. Gravity would pin me to my seat as I blasted off. My arms and legs would feel like concrete as I rose into space. And that's true. You watch how she's being pinned back in her seat. That's exactly what we felt when we launched on board the spacecraft. It felt like something pushing on our chest and holding us back into the seat. That's how powerful the rocket is. If I were an astronaut, I would dock my ship to the space station. I would gently settle the shuttle into place. Be careful. Lighten up on the thrusters. And we've got all kinds of vehicles that come dock to the space station. A lot of them bring us food and water and supplies and science experiments. And some of the vehicles, like the Soyuz that we traveled on, carry people to and from the space station. If I were an astronaut, I would be part of a super team. I would work with astronauts and scientists from all around the world. We would learn from each other and help each other. We would have the greatest jobs we could imagine. And what you see all these folks doing here from at least 2 different countries in this picture, from Canada and the United States, is a crew working together. And that's exactly what our crew does up here. There's 6 of us. We've got 2 from Russia, 1 from Germany, and 3 from the United States. And we all work together on science experiments and daily activities, and we all eat together. If I were an astronaut, I would run a robotic arm. I would lift a huge truss from the shuttle. The part would be added to the space station. And you can see what she's doing here. She's being very careful as she moves that robot arm. And this is something I did the very first week I came up here. We had a special spacewalk that was going on outside. And sometimes we carry the astronauts around on the robot arm to go do certain things to fix the space station. And so you have to be very careful. It's not like a video game. You have to be very, very gentle with the controllers. So you can see what she's saying here. Don't bump it, don't drop it. If I were an astronaut, I would take a spacewalk. I would fix a section of the space station. Stars, planets, and deep space would be all around. What a view. And that is very true. The view you get if you do a spacewalk is tremendous of the Earth. And that's why we're in our special spacewalking area on board the space station here. Like I said, we got our 2 spacewalking suit buddies. These are the special suits, or EMUs, that we wear, extravehicular mobility unit. Very long word, that's why we call them EMUs, but you can just call them a spacesuit. Like I said, right behind me, all kinds of equipment and supplies for us to put these suits right inside this big hole over here, and then they go out the hatch. And that's how we do our spacewalks. Even behind me here, you see a whole bunch of tools, what we call tethers, things to keep us attached to the space station while we do a spacewalk and make sure the astronauts stay safe and don't come unattached from the space station. If I were an astronaut, I would try to keep my food from floating away. Some foods, such as spaghetti or scrambled eggs, would be dried. I would add water before I warmed it in the oven. And this is a really good picture of how we make our food up here. We add water to a lot of different things to heat it up. They're rehydratable foods. Some foods we can just heat up in our special oven here, and we eat them just like they are, like soups and some chicken dishes and pasta dishes. We don't need to add any water. But we try to eat together with everybody. We still do have a dinner table I guess, and we put our food on our dinner table just like you have at home. But meal times are fun because food is definitely different than it is on Earth.
We're only watching half of the book today because we're going to watch the other half tomorrow before we do our craft. But that concludes the end of our day 2. Today we learned that about astronauts and how they go into space and what astronauts wear, like the helmet, the spacesuit, the boots, the oxygen tanks. And we learned how in space there is 0 gravity and how on Earth there is gravity. And we did some fun dances and we read half of a book. That's all for today. Bye, friends.